Ethics is oftentimes seem to be lost in today's corporate world, and this is because it creates a difficult crossroads for between success and morality. And because of this, I decided to do a little bit more research into ethics, exactly what it is, and just kind of learn more about it. And after my research, I developed three important topics to discuss with you guys today. First, we're going to create a baseline for us so we can all be on the same page, and we're going to talk about exactly what ethics is. Then we're going to address the question is if business ethics is something that we can teach or if it's not. And thirdly, and finally, we're going to talk about some of the causes of unethical behavior in the corporate world. So let's begin. We've all heard different definitions for ethics along the way through our college and high school careers and even in the business world. I'm sure we all have different. But we're going to use the definition presented by Manuel G. Velasquez, which is ethics is a subject that examines the personal moral standards of the society. It answers the question on how these standards can be applied to life. So the next thing we have to address are these moral standards in the definition. And Velasquez gives us a definition of those moral standards. And they are standards that deal with issues that have serious consequences. Consequences that can be associated with the feelings of shame and fear. And behind these standards stands good reason. They're not based on self-interest, authority, nor can they be accused of partiality. So, because of these standards, we should have good ethics. However, a problem arises between the different societies here in the business world. So, some societies might think some things are, shameful while others don't. So, how that can create a problem. Now that we have a kind of a baseline for what ethics is, let's consider the question if business ethics can be taught. There's no right or wrong answer to this. Some argue, according to the Journal of Business Ethics, that character is already developed and has already occurred by the time they reach the college age and the learning age. Others argue that you can teach ethical decision-making strategies and values of ethics can be taught to students. So the position I take, and I urge you to take, and the position the Journal of Business Ethics also takes, is that the position of both. Some parts of ethics you can teach, and others you cannot. And the parts of ethics that you can teach is taught through the education of unethical behavior. And because of this, the third and final topic I'm going to talk to you guys about is some of the causes presented from the failure of ethics in the business world article. And so the first problem is the corporation itself. The limited liability means limited moral liability. Shareholders don't necessarily have the power or even the interest to control or hold accountable the management. And because of this, the lines of ethics becomes blurred. They're focused on success and their return on investment. And they're not necessarily worried about the future of the company. They're just worried about the right now. Another problem or cause of unethical behavior presented is the consequences of globalization. Globalization is huge nowadays, and it is so important. However, there are consequences from it. It separates corporate decisions and stakeholders from owners and workers, consumers, and the place of production. And because of this, everything is so much more spread out. So chief executives, no matter how they want to, can't even know what's happening down the supply chain. And so this contributes to shading of business activities and the externalization of production costs, which is just a fancy way of saying causing social and environmental problems and damages. And then because there's so many other competitors now through globalization, these corporations are really feeling the pressure to increase profits in these financial markets. And oftentimes that comes through unethical decision making. That's that crossroad we talked about earlier. You know, but then the other hand too is they feel comfortable in power positions when it comes to looking for investment opportunities or state assistance for it. Um, these are two problems presented by the Failure of Business Ethics article. However, of course, remember that these aren't the only causes of unethical business problems. They're just two very important ones. So now that we have discussed exactly what ethics is, if business ethics is something that can be taught in the business world, and some causes of unethical behavior, you can take this knowledge and hopefully remedy possible areas for unethical decision making in your business, or maybe just become more aware of what's going on. Ultimately, though, it is up to you to hold yourself accountable for ethical business practices. If this is done by more businessmen and women, the corporate world will become much more ethical. Thank you for your time.